So we keep it informal. We don't have, we can just kick off with an intro of saying that we're here with Bernt Jahnel today, and you're over here on vacation. Is that what you're doing in the States?
This time it's pretty much a vacation. I used to come out here every year. The last 3 years I couldn't make it because of Corona.
Yeah.
But before that, the 30 years I came out straight once, sometimes even twice, because I do have a little skate shop back home.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, the idea of having the skate shop was I want to get stuff directly, kind of saving some money, pays for traveling around.
Yeah.
But things changed, of course. I mean, you cannot go in warehouses anymore like you used to be 30 years ago. 30 years ago, you even could, if you couldn't get it in the front, you would go in the back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that doesn't
Well,
work
it kind
anymore.
of happens here.
It happens here, but I know those people for 30 years. But
it's not backdoor stuff here, though.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that's kind of a good kickoff to just get a little bit into Frontline and your shop. And obviously, you just barely touched on the struggles throughout, the COVID era and stuff. But tell us a little bit about opening Frontline and when you first opened your shop.
Well, the thing was, I turned pro with like early 18 or 19 years, and I didn't really plan on it. It kind of happened on purpose by traveling around here in the US. But I figured that I could not do that of my whole life to make money on.
What year was that you turned pro?
That was 88, 1988.
Really?
88, yeah. I was pretty early. I was small, young, and I thought I didn't deserve it back then. I was like, dude, those guys are so much better than I. And I didn't. Jerry offered me it at the beginning of the trip, and I said, no, I can't do it. And then I spent it like 3 months out here, and it was working in my head. Mm-hmm. And after those 3 months, I was like, damn, I mean, why not? I mean, if he's offering...
Why were you apprehensive about not being able to?
I didn't feel like that I was so strong to be pro, because if you looked at Caballero, Lance Mountain, those were the people I was looking up to, and now I was like, oh, dude, I should compete to those guys, and it's like, I didn't feel ready for it.
You had the imposter syndrome. You thought, I'm not worthy of this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I'm
jumping in the water, in the cold water.
But being a pro back then, there was not too many shops. You already had so much skate stuff. So I did sell skate stuff to people, even being sponsored rider. And then in the late 80s, when skateboarding was really big, I was riding for Vision Street when all these other companies, shoe brands. So I had a lot of stuff. And as a pro back then, you made your living pretty much on selling stuff, because the pro salary, if you're not that, I mean, I never been a top 10 pro. So obviously you had to make your money somehow.
Would you come to the States and acquire a lot of gear and take it back to Germany and sell the products?
And I sold products out of my house. And one day a dad with his kid came in at 10 p.m. and it was like, dude, I cannot do that anymore. It's because you have to pay taxes and it's got to be legal somehow.
Yeah.
So I opened that shop pretty early with a buddy of mine. And I didn't take care of the shop too much the first 2 or 3 years. He was pretty much running the shop, and I was still being pro. I mean, I did good money back then with the demos. That was the big thing, all the word demos. So you made a good money with the word demos. So it was kind of, as more word skating dropped in the mid-90s, I switched over making my money with the skate shop instead of being a pro skater.
Yeah, good thing to have that fallback transition. I mean, a lot of those vert guys had kind of nowhere to go when street hit, and they didn't really know how to adapt. And
that was one good thing for me, that I never was that high, so I could not fall that deep than those guys.
But you're tall.
Yeah, I'm tall.
You got a long way to fall when you do.
The ground. So the shop's in Constance.
It's in Constance, Germany, which is in the very south, right on the border to Switzerland. So we have a lot of Swiss customers coming in. Yeah. And it's not too many core shops left anymore. No. So people who walk in, they all stoked about the inventory we have. We like 70% hard goods. Yeah. It's only 15% shoes, 15% clothings.
And that's what makes the money to keep the hard goods going.
Yeah. And that's why I survived COVID, I think, because a lot of shops had too much inventory. They didn't sold as good.
Yeah.
And if you're on inventory with hard goods, it's not that bad, because it's not getting bad as quick. A board or a truck will be a truck, even if you keep it for 2 or 3 years.
Do you guys have do you sponsor anyone like through the shop? Like have a little local team or anything
Yeah, we
like
actually do, but we don't really call it a team because I always had so many friends. All my friends are skating, and all my friends are hooked up anyways. So it's not an official team. It's a crew. It's the people around me. Right. They get supported. I don't really call it a team, but it's a crew.
It's local crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you turned pro in '88. When did you actually start skateboarding? Like, what was the beginning of your journey? When was your first board, and how did you come to it?
I think I started 82, 83. A friend of mine who was in the same school in my class, nobody really skated back then. He was freestyling, so I started with freestyle skating on that tiny boards, and I picked up the slalom thing a little bit. Yeah. And the real skateboarding started, I remember that exactly, that was 84, because I went to that. Constance always had a strong scene for being a small city. We had old school skaters there, and we had one of the first vert ramps. So when I first saw the vert ramp and a guy doing an air, I was hooked after that. Before that, those 2 years before it, I didn't even call it a sport. I always was into sport. I was playing soccer and stuff like that. Skateboard thing was just the toy to play around. But 84, I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do. And from that day on, I pretty much stood on my board every day. The first 3 years, everything went really quick. I mean, I progressed pretty quick. Back then, there was... a lot of tricks haven't been invented yet.
Right.
So it was easier to drop in. Today as a kid, if you look at the top vert rider, it's kind of hard to imagine you could do that.
But it's because of you guys, you and that whole crew, and over here in the U.S., all our team riders over here, it's because of what happened at that point that these guys now look at tricks and go, oh, well, that's nothing. I can do, mega ramp now or whatever, the skate park in the Olympics. It's crazy to watch that stuff.
It is.
It's inspiring.
What was your scene like locally at that time? Like when you
really good, actually, because we had two guys, Kellogg's and Pogo. They've been sponsored already. Kellogg's was in '84 in the US. He got sponsored by Vision.
Okay.
And he actually brought me my first real skateboard from the US, and that was John Lucero, the blue one from Madrid. It was the top-selling board back then.
Yeah.
And that was my first real skateboard, because before that we pressed our own boards.
You did?
Yeah,
really.
Show guy skates, we called them. It was we bought some wood, pressed it by ourselves. Really, in the early 80s, there was hardly any skate shops out there.
Sure.
It was hard to get stuff. We went to Switzerland. Switzerland was a little bit better. That you could get some stuff there, but it wasn't too much good stuff around.
Right.
So my first really good skateboard was a Madrid board.
Nice.
And
that's pretty crazy.
That's how it came up. Awesome. Like in '87, I remember on a German championship, there was the distributor from Madrid called Hyos from Frankfurt. And, And he kind of came over to me because I won the junior championships.
Monster Mastership?
No, that was called the German. It was different. The German championships was different than the international contest.
Oh, okay.
But whatever, he kind of asked me if I could send him a photo of me skating. And the funny thing is on that story, the photo I sent him, because I didn't have any skate photos back then, it was not like everybody had a cell phone and doing photos. And I sent him a photo of me as a little kid naked with my teddy bear underneath the arm. And he thought that was so funny.
That's epic.
And on that he was like, he had two other companies I don't remember. And if you want to ride for any of those companies as an amateur, and I was like, oh, Madrid, of course, because I had my first real board was in Madrid. And then I got a Ken Park deck back then. And so
I'm feeling left out, dude. You never rode one of my boards. My heart's crushed.
I don't think so. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Ken's board was amazing, and John's was one of our best sellers. So.
Yeah.
Well, and those are similar in shape too. Yours was a little bit different compared to the Park and Lucero. Maybe,
yeah.
And we touched a bit on that about how you kind of, as a downhiller, kind of intentionally set out to make kind of more of an actual, not a downhill board, but a vert, kind of board. Yeah,
vert and street board.
Sure,
So it would sell.
Yeah.
And so Bernt wouldn't ride it.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Apparently that was it. Yeah, he had no interest in that Bo Brown board.
No, that's amazing. Really.
So we had a couple of European Madrid pros at the time. Were you familiar with Klaus Grabke?
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys
Yeah.
have a
I
relationship?
traveled
back in
up to Gütersloh at his place
Yeah.
where he lived. He had a ramp in the barn, and I even remember we slept in his place, and his parents wasn't there, and we slept in the bed of the parents,
Yeah.
3 skaters of us, and
Nice.
skated
Nice.
that farm ramp there. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, we had a good scene back then in Germany. Germany was in the late 80s the strongest country in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely, without question.
We lost that. I mean, France, Italy, Spain, they have better skate parks, they have better skaters now. But back then, Germany was
Holding it
the
down.
country, I would say so, in Europe. Well, England and Scandinavia always had been strong.
Yeah,
But England kind of always was not part of
It's
Europe a
its
little
own
bit,
thing,
like it
yeah.
is now. Yeah.
it's his own.
Who
thing.
was inspiring you back in those days? Like who did you see skating that you were like, that's the guy, that's what I want to do, that's
I always liked the Zollak guys and the Texan guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Greg
John
Johnson,
Gibson,
the
yeah.
tall guys with
Yeah.
the burly
Johnson,
style
yeah.
and
John Gibson,
yeah, gnarly tricks, big pogo rock and
Oh,
rolls,
dude.
doing everything big. I always kind of liked that.
Yeah.
So
I
that
was
was
always
kind
a
of the,
Zorlak fan because of the graphics. It's like, yep, that's the style. Which you know, Bo Brown probably digs because of your demon board. That's a very
Oh yeah, without
dark
question.
Zorlak vibe for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and Pusshead. I don't know if you guys know this. Pusshead, who did a lot of the Zorlak graphics.
always liked that guys more than the Bones Brigade thing.
Yeah.
It kind of seemed too clean to me.
Yeah,
Not
it
that
was.
I mean. They
Zorlak
were
had
the shit
vibe,
for
Ryan.
sure, and
Yeah.
we watched all the Bones videos, of course. But
Yeah.
to me, those other type of skating and other type of lifestyle,
It
kind
was
of.
more raw.
I digged it
was
more, yeah.
More like
Absolutely.
just skating for skating's sake.
So that's interesting because I didn't know until the other day that you first stopped by the office that you actually had a Zorlak board.
Yeah, but
later on down the
that
line,
was
right?
after Zollak was really big.
Right,
Zollak
yeah.
was pretty much gone.
Yeah.
It seemed like I was at most of the companies. I was there when they already kind of faded a little bit. Same thing
Yeah.
with Madrid. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the 80s,
Yeah.
they haven't been the biggest, strongest company
Right.
on street and word boards anymore.
That's the nature of all probably skating at that time too. You know, the golden era. You know, there was
goes
a
up
big
and down.
downturn on everything at that time for sure.
But I was lucky to have to took part of that golden area.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 88. I came
Yeah.
out the first time to the US.
yeah.
With my buddy Matthias Bauer, Matthew. He
Okay.
was
Yeah.
riding for Santa Cruz, and
I remember
he was ready to get a pro model on Town and Country, and the Town and
okay.
Country boards
Vision.
were supposed to made at Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
So he anyways hanged out here a lot, and I was just a small amateur coming with him. The first few weeks I didn't even speak any word. I mean, my
Really?
English I learned at school was so poor, and I didn't spoke any English. I still can't write English really good because I never really learned it proper.
Yeah.
I pretty much learned it on the streets out here.
Kinda
So
like
the first,
skating.
Yeah.
so the first few weeks I was just with him, and
Yeah.
then he left after 6 weeks, and I had like 3 more months to stay. So I had a really long time when I came out here first. So
Where did you go? Like, did you go to like Del Mar?
I went to Del
Upland
Mar.
and
I
everything?
saw Upland, but Upland was bulldozed on that time already. The bulldozer was there. I saw it, but you couldn't skate it anymore. We back then you could get an airplane ticket on Northwest, where you allowed to fly around for 1 month as
Oh, wow.
often and as much as you want.
Kind of like a Eurail pass.
Like the Ural
That's
Pass just
crazy.
on the plane, and
Yeah.
it does even include Alaska and Jamaica and Hawaii,
Oh my god.
Wow.
and only $400. Come on, that was a deal.
Nuts, man.
And it was back then, nothing was registered on a computer, so it was good for 4 weeks. And you got this booklet with 6 tickets inside, and if you used the last ticket, they gave you a new booklet. And on one of those booklets, they forgot to put in the expiration date. So we always kind of get a new booklet and put the expiration date. So
Oh my God.
I ended up flying for 3 months on those things.
That's absolutely
You couldn't do
crazy.
that anymore today. It's all on
No,
your
one
computer.
way ticket across the country is more than that these days
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
So I had the chance to fly around a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been to Texas, skated there. Dave Donaldson, H Street's pro. I stayed at his place.
Right.
I remember that. I went to Florida, met Rob Mertz there.
Okay.
Cool.
And what is his name? Gosh, I'm so bad in remembering names. The guy who built Skatopia, Bruce Martin.
Oh, okay.
I run into,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
Skatopia, not the early Skatopia
Oh yeah, no,
skate
that's
park, but-
Skatopia
Yeah,
in
Bruce
Ohio,
Norton.
somewhere in Ohio, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah.
So he used to live in Florida back then. So
Oh,
I stayed
okay.
at his place. Yeah, he's one of the huge collector. He has
Oh,
one of the
really?
biggest skateboard collections I ever
Wow.
saw.
Did
So
you
I
watch
stayed
him
at his
skate
place.
naked?
I saw him skate naked in Marseille in a contest. I was there when he did the frontside. It was on 3 wheels naked. Yeah, but I like those crazy guys, and
Yeah.
I got along with him pretty good.
What was the first year that you came to the States? Like
That was
your-
88.
88
yeah,
was the
yeah.
first year. Yeah.
And that was where I had this. I think it was winter 88 to 89, something like that.
Good time to come to California in the
Yeah.
winter. Yeah.
I finished my my job back home. Like we have this 3-year learning term,
Right.
and after that I was like, okay, I want to see something from the world. Get out. I was pretty young, 18 or 19 years when I came out first.
You won the German championships in what
As
you say?
a junior,
As a junior in
yeah.
what, 88?
87.
87.
Yeah.
Then you came over here in 88.
Yeah.
Were you already sponsored by Madrid at that
Yeah,
point?
as an amateur over the
Okay.
distributor. But I didn't expect anything. I was kind of with Matthew, and he was getting that board in town and country. And all of a sudden, Jerry kind of offered me, hey, we need a rider in Europe and Germany. Why don't you want to be pro?
Nice.
And I was like, I didn't commit because I didn't feel like I was ready.
Yeah.
But after traveling for 3 months, and on that one trip, I went to Alaska. I met Carl Augustad from the Arctic Wheelers. He did a video of me.
Really?
Back then, he was professional doing videos for weddings and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So he did a video of me, which was pretty good made because back then nobody had videos, really,
Right.
not
Yeah.
that much. And that video, if I look back on it, it was pretty good because I did some weird stuff back then. I always was kind of the frontside guy. I did weird frontside airs, 1 foot, no foot, double neon,
Okay.
and stuff like nobody else really was doing. Sort of was stupid because it was early crap and all that shit. But that's the way it was back then.
Yeah.
And that was skating in Alaska? Like, were you
Yeah.
shooting and skating up
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
And
what was that like at the time?
That
What
was
the
pretty
Alaska
cool.
scene
Yeah,
like?
yeah. That was the first time I was on my own because my buddy already left back home. So I went to Alaska. I didn't have a driver license, but
Yeah.
I rented a car with my little license from the motorbike I had back home.
Oh, yeah.
So they couldn't read it anyways here in the
So
US.
much easier to get away with stuff back then. Yeah.
Go
You
ahead.
just-
So back then everything was easier because you were not in the computer, and so it was easier to sneak around back then.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So you
So, yeah,
finally
it's fun.
relented and accepted the offer from Madrid
Yeah.
to go pro. And then what was your first board? I know there's a couple at that time. What was the first board that
I
you
had
guys
2
did?
boards in Madrid. That was the
Right.
one with the girl on it.
Is that the first
Yeah,
one?
that was
That
the
was the
first one.
first.
And it was actually, I think it was funny story how the graphic ended up because I took out a picture. All of my friends back home, if we were talking about pro designs and stuff like that, I was like, I want to have a nice girl on my board whenever I'm going to be a pro. I mean, you're
Sure.
just joking around. So now I had the chance, so I thought, well, now I have to do it, getting a girl on my board. So I
Yeah.
took out a picture of Cosmopolitan, and then I drew a little sketch of a little guy who was like kind of looking up to that girl.
Uh-huh.
And the idea I had that the girl has a patch on their jacket which says Madrid,
Oh, wow.
and Bernt Jahnel Pro Model. So the thing is, I thought you have a graphic guy out here who does something good out of it, but they actually just took straight that photo, put it in straight that drawing, and put it in straight that drawing of that patch. So in the first, I thought it looks kind of cheesy.
It wasn't
But
your
then-
vision? It wasn't the vision that you
I
had?
thought they go over it, but they took
Yeah.
it 1-to-1. But they put on nice neon colors and the
Yeah.
neon shade over it. So
Sure.
looking back on it, I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
came together after all. Yeah. I wonder who was doing the graphic at that time.
Might have been, was that Spencer Barch that did your graphic?
I
Do you know?
don't remember.
It's either
I don't think
Spencer
that any graphic guy
Rodriguez Barbosa.
actually did something on it. They
Really?
just took that Cosmopolitan photo that
Scanned it
and
exactly as it was.
scanned it,
Yeah.
put it on the copy machine,
Yeah,
made a
yeah,
graphic out
total
of it.
ruby
Yeah.
lit,
And
sure.
you
Whole
see,
nine
you
yards.
see that it's like it's kind of rough. That you
Yeah.
see the points on everything.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
was cool. The second graphic was done a little better. That's the pig.
Yeah.
And that a friend of mine, he was a good artist, and
Yeah.
he drew that.
And why the
He said-
pig?
I don't know. He kind of draw it, and
I think we've always wanted. I love that graphic, and I have a very cartoony style, and I like that. But I was like, why the pig? Where
self-humor,
Yeah,
being, I
of
mean, the pig sitting in front of this nap,
Yeah.
and on the nap is my name, so
Yeah.
it's obviously that I'm the pig, but
right,
it's
but
kinda-
why, right? You're like, I don't know.
I thought
good
it's
at the
funny.
time.
It was cool.
Yeah, just for
I
the
like
humor.
I like
yeah.
the drawing and you know what? I never been too much into graphics.
Yeah.
For myself. To me, it was more important shaping the boards.
Sure.
And back
Yeah.
then, you really could shape a board.
Yeah.
These days, the boards are all
Yeah.
the same. But back then, I drew the board on a piece of paper, and I was like drawing it around my foot, like so it had it that
Sure,
wide
yeah.
in the front
Yeah,
and on
yeah.
the tail, and I knew it. I tend to stand really wide, so it was really wide on the nose. So I really shaped it the way I thought it would fit my style perfect, and that
Yeah.
was my main focus. Getting a board meant to me back then shaping it,
Sure.
and I didn't really care about the graphic
Yeah.
too much.
As a graphic artist, that really hurts me. But
Yeah, I'm sorry.
no, just kidding. I mean, that's the great thing about Madrid to this day. I mean, we still are out there. We can have our writers come in and like have a say and shape
I know
their
how
own board.
important graphics are
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I know. I mean, even if you're a shitty pro, if you have a perfect
Yeah.
graphic, you have a selling board.
For sure, yeah. Although
know that
it
from
probably goes both ways. It's probably like, well, I don't really care for this graphic, but man, it's a killer shape. So did you change the shape between the woman graphic and the pig, or did
I
you
didn't.
same shape?
Same
just new
shape,
graphic?
different graphic.
Yeah. And so were you
Back then,
shaping?
it used to be like every year new graphics.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
2 years and
For sure.
yeah.
And were you shaping that at the Madrid factory
Yeah.
at that time, which was probably
yeah.
Santa Fe Springs?
That was
the other
over there
location?
at Slater in the smaller place.
Oh, just the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
the
yeah,
other Huntington spot. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a luxury to be able to come in and just
Oh,
have
yeah.
some input,
Yeah.
shaping your own board. It's awesome.
I always laughed that Madrid is doing the boards by themselves, having a warehouse, wood shop in the warehouse, because most of the other skate companies, they just,
Yeah, they just put
marketing
their graphic
companies,
on it.
they,
yeah,
they
right,
don't
exactly.
produce, and I loved that, smelling the wood, going in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
that's always been a key feature. When I was working in back and still skating for Madrid, we would have the pros come in, and having people in back who not only knew about wood but also knew about skating. We could work, on a shape and say no, that doesn't work right, or it's production wise it's not going to work. How about this? And it would always come together to be the perfect board for the pro. We hope.
So was there a point when you, I don't know if I want to say maybe retired is a strong word, but was there a point in your skating career when you thought, okay, like you kind of said earlier, I got to kind of figure out what am I going to do next? I know I can't do this forever. How am I going to kind of transition into a career or another job when I kind of am beyond skating? Was there a conscious point when that came to you?
Not really, because I took the opportunity with the shop because it allows me to skate that much.
Yeah,
My main
sure.
focus always was skating as much as I can, because I'm a skater. I want to skate still, even these days. When
Yeah.
I'm out here, I skate as much as I can. That's the main focus. And the reason why I did that shop was because I don't want to have a regular
Yeah.
job 9 to 5, which
Absolutely.
does not allow me to
Right.
skate as
Yeah.
much.
Right.
So I always felt being a pro. Even these days, I still feel like I'm skate pro because that's what I've spent most of my time
It's awesome.
Yeah.
skating.
You
what-
identify as a skateboarder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
everything
me.
else
Yeah.
is secondary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
So what-
Skateboarding is first, and then everything else comes.
And what year was it the doors to the shop opened? What year did you open your shop?
We just had the 30-year anniversary last year, so it was 92 or something.
92.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
91, 92.
Yeah, and that was, I arrived at Madrid in 88, 89 till almost 90. But then, back then, it was kind of hard traveling because the euro, there was a German mark, there was no euro even back then.
Right.
It was expensive coming out here. And
Sure.
if you don't come out regularly, it's kind of hard to keep up. And Madrid didn't really make that much money, so they really couldn't pay me that much.
Yeah.
I think I never really saw any royalties or something.
Uh-oh, Jerry.
Yeah, we'll talk to Jerry.
I mean, I was always treated good.
Yeah.
But it's not
Looks
that I
like
really made...
you'll be getting a check before you leave here
Yeah.
today. Sounds like, Bernt.
Yeah, with all the... No, I got the offer from Tito Skates, who was the leading
Right.
German brand back then. And they did so many demos
Right.
And Jerry couldn't do so much anyways anymore. So it was kind of, I mean, I was kind of hooked with him because I came
Sure,
out
of
and
course.
bought stuff, and I was always on fly paper. But it kind of was the better deal riding for Tito Skates, because the living you made was doing the demos. And
Sure.
he had all the demos, and being a pro on that German brand, it kind of made sense for me.
Well, yeah, and that kind of goes along with all the farm team stuff.
Right.
So many of the guys moved on to other teams, whether it was Grahalski or Lucero or you or whoever else, Klaus,
Yep.
that we weren't able to make a lot of money because we were a smaller brand. We weren't just a marketing company.
Yeah.
So, Jerry kind of figured that it would be a farm team.
Yeah, he was super nice. I thought, oh, dude, I can't quit him because I owe him so much, and it didn't feel like quitting. I just got the Tito Sport, and I still was part of the family. I still
Exactly.
was part
It
of
is
the
a
family when I
family.
came out here. I got the fly paper, I got the bed rails.
Well, and you're sitting here today in 2022, obviously, still part of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you're part of the Madrid family,
Yeah.
you're always part of the Madrid family.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
That's right.
Do you have a lot of competition when you open your shop? Are there a lot of local shops
No.
in your area?
Small
what about
town.
today? Is there, you guys
Well, we do
kind
have
of-
a Blue Tomato chain
Right,
store.
which is
owned by
Just came in
Zumiez.
half a year ago.
Really?
I was not
Yeah.
worried too much because it's not a skate shop.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
a sporting goods store.
Right.
And the goods they have are different.
Sure.
They're not focused on hard goods so much, and even the clothings they have, we don't carry the mainstream clothings anymore.
Yeah.
We just
Right.
do clothings from brands who does boards.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what? Like which brands?
Well, everything. Santa Cruz, and even on Santa Cruz, if the company gets too big, I don't do the regular logo. I just do the pro shirts and
Yeah.
stuff like that. No Volcom, no Carhartt anymore. All those stuff who got mainstream
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to carry for me. So it's
Good.
really
Good for
small
you.
and tight.
Yeah. Congratulations, you're
And
one of the
yeah,
few
but
that does that.
yeah, we only survived because we don't need that much money. We never had employers. We have the same rent for 20 years, which is super lucky. Our
Yeah,
landlord is super nice,
Yeah.
and so we have low costs, so we can survive
Yeah.
if there's not too much income.
What in today's market? What are you guys selling as far as? Do you have a big retro kind of like throwback
we do a lot
presence?
of-
A lot of like modern street boards. What's kind of like your specialty?
Everything. The specialty is that we have everything. I even
great.
made the step of because back then, it's like 10, 15 years ago, when longboarding kicked
Yeah.
in, a lot of
Sure.
core shops had problems to touch the longboard stuff
Right.
because they thought, oh, those campus cruiser dudes, it's not cool.
Sure.
But I picked up the downhill thing like right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I even had like 15 years ago, they did a longboard with me. I mean, not with my name on it, but I did the shape and everything
cool.
for it.
Yeah, okay.
So
Mhm.
I made him. So I always liked the downhill and the fast thing. So,
Sure.
so longboarding was no problem for me to touch.
Sure.
And longboarding really took off 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
We had
yeah.
the strongest sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were
I mean,
good
it's-
with the longboards. And now even the surf skates who comes in. I'm never going to touch scooters or inlines or all that shit.
They're not
Good.
skateboards, longboards are skateboards. Even
Yeah.
if it's surf skate, it's
Yeah.
got trucks, it's got wheels,
Yeah.
it's got a board.
Yeah.
It's a skateboard.
And I dig it. And I really love the downhill scene. I remember 15 years ago when it was at the beginning, it kind of felt the same like the vert scene back in the days because
Sure.
it was so tight.
Right.
It was a huge
Right.
industry behind it, and only a few people who did that certain thing. Like back in the days, skateboarding, you sold good skateboarding, but who was skating vert? But vert was kind of the thing to market.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it was not the kids. Most of the kids didn't use the boards for vert riding.
Right,
They just
right.
cruised around on them. So
Yeah.
it's kind of the same thing with the downhill scene. The longboard, they had the team and they sold mainstream boards mostly.
Sure.
Well,
And-
the downhill is still a huge presence. I mean, obviously,
It
with,
does.
with Madrid and,
Yeah.
company-wise, it's a third of our
Yeah.
whole market and,
Yeah.
and still huge engagement on our socials. And, I mean, it's huge.
Mm.
Yeah.
So in fact, like 10 years ago, I spent more time on my downhill board than on my ramp board. The first ramp I had was torn down, so I didn't have a ramp for like 2 or 3 years. I had to travel to skate vert, so I skated more downhill than than vert.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just after like the last 3-4 years when I got this huge ramp, I pretty much didn't do
Yeah.
downhill anymore.
Yeah.
I was just back on the ramp again.
So let's talk about the skate park. You built a skate park in Constance, and it's on the campus of the university there, right?
That's right, yeah.
And it's looking at the picture, and I saw pictures. I haven't been there. It's a pretty massive park.
It is big. It is huge, and I even haven't seen anything like this over here, because the idea I had was building a park, but with ramps. Usually, if you go to a skate park, there's a vert ramp, there's a mini ramp next to it, and there's a small ramp right next to it.
Right.
So the thinking I had was like leveling out the coping, so put up the mini ramp on the same height, and kind of put it up in weird angles so you can ride from the vert ramp into the mini, into the
Right.
real mini, going back in, rolling in. I always like the lines and the runs you can do. So the idea on the ramp I built is making a huge vert ramp with mini ramps around so you can pump from one to another. So it is good, it's big. I mean, we had, right after we finished it, we had the Thrasher team coming by with
Yeah.
like 3 Saudis, and they
Really?
it was funny because if those guys came up, it reminded me on that scene from the Animal Chin video from Bones when
Right.
they come to the Animal Chin ramp,
Yeah.
Right.
and they have this scene where they all go to the ramp and they're like oh, they're
Yeah.
all
Right,
stoked,
right.
and it was the same
Really?
vibe there. They all came there. Oh, where do I start? And they were all super stoked, and a lot of them was like, oh, this was the best ramp I ever skated, and
Really?
I think this ramp will be already famous if we didn't have COVID, because
Right,
people
yeah.
couldn't go there.
Yeah.
And it's definitely unique. There's nothing like this in whole Europe, and I haven't seen anything. I mean, Bob Burnquist's place and ramp
Sure.
is kind of, with the mini ramp on
Right,
top. There's huge stuff out here for sure. But the setting is kind of unique, and I haven't seen a
it
setting like this somewhere else.
And it's crowdfunded, yeah? You guys crowdfunded.
You know
the
what? I
building of it?
tried to crowdfund it. I ended up
Just-
paying everything
is
by
that right?
myself.
But
No
Madrid's
crowdfunding.
involved, right?
Madrid put it in 5. Can I say the money? It's
Sure,
$5,000
yeah, who
bucks.
cares,
They
yeah.
put it in 5.
Of course, yeah.
You know what? The whole ramp was 25,000 euros, which is nothing for a huge ramp like this.
Yeah.
It's kind of a recycle project. It's part of my old ramp, part of 2 other street courses and spots we
Really?
got for free. So we got a lot of the wood we recycled,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's
With
ended
it-
up.
With it being on the campus, is that a benefit in that it's kind of
The
less concern of it not sticking around for a long time? Like, do you have the backing of the university?
Yeah,
to be
I do
like,
have.
We want
Yeah,
to
I actually have a contract for 10 years to
Cool.
get that
Really?
get that spot. Yeah, and I don't have to pay anything for it. I only have to do the lessons for the university, which I love to do anyways.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So every
That's-
spring
that's
there's
fair.
the students come by,
Really?
and it's like 2 beginner courses, 1 advanced course we do at the university in Constance. It's fun, and you know what? It's mostly girls who taking part.
That's
on
awesome.
Gotta love that.
Heck yeah, that's rad. And it took over tennis courts. That's right.
It
was
took
a
over
former,
one
former
tennis court, and
Yeah, yeah.
they didn't need so much tennis courts,
Yeah.
anymore. And the buddy of mine who was facility manager there, he kind of told me, hey, you look for a spot for your ramp, because I moved to the countryside 15 years ago and built a big vert ramp there. And
Yeah.
after 10 years, usually if you build it outdoors, the wood underneath starts to rotten.
Yeah,
Right.
of
I mean,
course.
ramps we build last a lot longer than the ramps you build out here, because things in Europe are built a little stronger. Mostly.
Well, they have to. You know,
They have
Yeah.
to be.
Southern
yeah.
California,
And
we don't have
it's
the
all
weather
made by
issues.
framing underneath, so it's really solid.
Yeah.
And it's a metal surface on top. So
Oh, okay.
so
I looked at
wo- wo-
pictures and I
yeah.
didn't know. I
wooden
was hoping.
construction and
Yeah.
metal surface on top. And you know what? The first sheets of that goes back to the ramp we built in '85 with wooden surface, and we put '88. We put metal sheets on that ramp.
Yeah.
And some of those sheets are still back from 1988.
Wow.
I learned that from the guys in Florida. I've spent it in the early
Right,
90s.
yeah.
I did my winter trips always to Florida.
Sure.
Hanged out there at Stone Edge with Greg Heiler and all
Right,
those
right.
guys from the East Coast. And they build everything with metal because they have more rain. You do all
Right.
Of
those
course. Yeah.
masonite stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But those masonite sheets, if it
Yeah.
rains on them, they're gone after
just
one.
sponge,
They
yeah.
would be gone after one winter
Yeah.
in Germany.
Sure,
So that
yeah.
was no option. Indoors, I like wood a lot. Outdoors, concrete or metal. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
have to build it new. But even then, after 10 years, usually the construction starts to rotten.
Sure.
And then So the ramp was rotten underneath, but the trannies were still there, and the metal sheets were still there. The trannies are built solid. They bend it out of one. It's not cut it out. It's like you do it for roofing. You know, the English word for it. If you bend a big piece of wood, so it's out of one piece. So the trannies were there. That's why it's still so big. If I could build it new with new trannies, I probably would have done it a little smaller because it's X game measurements. The ramp it's 14 foot vert ramp. It's a huge vert ramp, but I want to make it a little easier to ride. So I added all that stuff so you always can cruise out of the vert ramp and then come back in with speed. So that was the idea behind it.
When was the park finished?
3 years ago.
3 years. So COVID.
4 years ago. Yeah.
Was it kind of right in the midst of COVID?
Well, we finished the center part, and then a year later we built some more stuff around. There's like this offset walls. Actually, that drawing you have here is a little different, I think. Yeah, this is actually the drawing of the first idea. It turned out a little bit different. We're missing this. It's a little wider now, and it's a little... As you know, the first plans come up, then you build the middle. After the money was gone, we stopped building. And as I said, I put it down most of the money by myself. But come on, 20,000. Other people buy a car for that. I'd rather build me a ramp. So it's not that. I mean, it seems like it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
My wife back then was a little pissed that I spent it.
Sounded high to her.
So one of the biggest ramps, one of the best skate parks in Europe is a DIY project.
Seems like. You know what I think? If you want to have it good, it got to be DIY. Especially in Germany, the cities don't get it. They build toy grounds. They build shitty little things. And I mean, the way I would like to have a ramp, no city would build it. Even people out there was like, oh, come on, dude, you built that ramp just for yourself and a handful of people. It's I mean, everybody's welcome. Of course, it's not built for the kids. It's more a ramp for people. I have people from Stuttgart, Munich, a lot of Swiss DIY people. I have more people traveling to the ramp than frequently skating it as a local ramp. It's a small local scene. It's a handful of locals who skate the ramp. And of course, some kids say, "Oh, you with that money, you could have built a huge skate park for us. It's not for everybody." And I say, it's not meant to be for everybody.
It's your park, man. Build it how you want to build it.
You want a street plaza? There's one in
the
the
thing
city
is, they don't
for
get it that it's a private project because it sits on the university, and a lot of people think, "Oh, I took the money from someone and built a ramp for me." That's not the case. I mean, it's my money. It's my work. It's hard of work, half year straight working. It's only friends of mine. Nobody got money for helping building that ramp. I had a super good friend, old school skater from Constance, Bolle. He's a carpenter now.
Nice.
And he helped me building the ramp. His boss was giving us all the screws for free, and it gotta be that way. I asked Schützi from IOU, who did the drawings with me, if I would order this ramp from him regularly. He was like 200,000 euros. And I asked the Swiss guy at Vertical, he was like, 250 Swiss francs. So I ended up getting it for 1/10 of it. But
DIY forever.
DIY is the best thing. You gotta build it by yourself, you save money, and you can have it the way you want it.
That's it. Was COVID a factor with the kind of opening and the launch? Did it kind of damper expectations of when you first were able to open and get people out there?
It sort of did because people didn't travel that much. So I have lonely sessions there. But as a vert rider, you used to have. I mean, even that ramp I had before in Moos, 2 out of 3 sessions I skate on my own still these days. I don't mind. I mean, I go there. If I'm on my own, I always say I'm going jogging. I'm just cruising around the ramp, and if there's weekends, if people come up, I'm forced to do some tricks and get a little bigger.
You got to put on a show a little bit. You got to step it up a little bit.
But I mean, I love skating on my own also. I'm so used to it. The last 20 years of my skating, I skated mostly on my own.
I fully support that. I'm the same
That's
way.
why I'm stoked being out here, because out here you're never on your own. I mean, I try to go, when I'm coming out here, I try to go early morning sessions when so you can get used to the place.
Sure.
And then if I get used, then I come in the afternoon, and I love to meet the people. And of course, I mean, you skate a lot better if there's people around. But I don't have to go 100% on every session. I can't anyways.
Dude, at
paid
our
your dues,
ages,
man.
it's just enjoying concrete on metal or urethane on metal or urethane on concrete. the feeling is like nothing else.
Yep.
So.
Loving skateboarding is enough. You know, you don't have anything to prove anymore. I mean, I lost that a long time ago, you know.
Yeah, I love being there, sitting on my ramp.
Yeah. Have you hit some local parks?
This time?
On this, this trip that you're
Well,
on
I'm
this
here
week?
only since 3-4 days,
Yeah.
but I skated the Vans Park,
Vans,
which is
sure.
close by
Mhm.
here, and I went to the day before yesterday to Etnies Park,
Cool.
Lake Forest.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that a lot.
That's an epic
The
one. Yeah,
pool,
that's a lot
it's
of it.
nice. I still got stuff from Etnies once in a while from the
You do?
distributor. I know Pierre-André pretty good
Sure.
from back in the days,
Nice.
so it's
Yeah.
a perfect spot there. Yeah, I like
Awesome.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I worked
Heck
with those guys for many years.
Yeah.
Worked at Soltec, yeah.
Oh, they nice people too. Yeah.
Ah.
I like Pierre. He's funny and he always supported people and yeah.
Have you ever had to drink with Don Brown?
And I don't had a drink, but I met him out there.
Drinking with Don Brown is a challenge.
Okay, so he likes drinking.
He's very good at
He's
it.
good at it. Well, as a German, you're good at it too because
Yeah,
you're used to the
that's
beer.
true.
And I'm not a small and tiny person, so I can take something.
Yeah.
But the rough years are gone. I'm not as heavy as I used to be, which is good. Otherwise, I
Yeah.
would not skate that much
Yeah,
anymore.
for sure.
And I do stretching and workout. I mean, you
Yeah.
would have.
Yeah.
I would have laughed at myself 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But now I do it because it keeps me in shape. It
Yeah. Allows you to skate.
allows me to skate.
Yeah.
I do everything I need to do to skate as much as
Yeah.
possible. That's the goal.
Do you do anything else besides skate? Do you have any other interests? Are you...
I like all the board sports. Yeah, I did surfing a lot. I
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
done it in the last few years because I've raised the family the last 10
Yeah.
years. Kind of does not give you the time to do so much. But
Right.
I've been wakeboarding on my lake. I went snowboarding close
Nice.
to the Swiss
Oh.
Alps a lot. In fact,
Wow.
I started snowboarding first before in
Really?
the early 80s when nobody really knew about
my God.
snowboarding. We
Wow.
started snowboarding, and those friend who was skating kind of drawed me into skateboarding
Wow.
also. So the board thing always is skimboarding. Everything on a board is my thing. I used to play soccer as a kid. I still watch the soccer games, but everybody in Germany does.
Yeah.
What you hear is football and baseball
Yeah.
and maybe basketball. It's all three sports like
Yeah.
this. It's one thing in Germany is soccer. It's the main
Yeah.
thing.
It's weird. You don't
Yeah.
normally find someone that finds skateboarding through snowboarding. It's usually my experience. It always kind of goes the other way.
Yeah.
The first time I snowboarded, I thought, oh, it's gonna be easy. I've been skateboarding since I could walk. I'm just gonna skating on snow. Oh my god.
But the thing is, Constance is so close to the Swiss Alps.
Yeah.
So the
Right.
people I were hanging out with, they were kind of. It was even before the first Bernt boards.
Sure.
They built their boards by themselves.
Yeah.
There's a German Constance company, Chester
Yeah.
Boards, and they did their boards back then. So kind of went with them. I was skiing as a kid.
Oh, okay.
So then I
Right.
went from ski to the snowboard, and this one guy was skating too. So. Yeah, in fact, I was standing. I wouldn't even say that snowboarding brought me into skateboarding, but I've been snowboarding before I touched the skateboard.
Yeah, it's
That's
interesting.
right. Well, I touched the skateboard with the age of 6 or 7. I remember that because a cousin of mine in the mid-70s had one of these small boards. But I was like 6 or 7 years old. But I remember that I stepped on his board and played around with it for an hour. I figured it's kind of hard to do, and and it was not around anymore.
Right.
So that doesn't really count.
So it took a while to come back around
Yep.
to it. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a jocks. I'm a sports guy. I
Yeah.
always liked doing sports. I always spent it. Always was a hyperactive kid, and I had to do. I'm still hyperactive, probably.
You got to get the energy out somewhere.
I need to get the energy out. So
Yeah,
sport always
no
was
doubt.
my outlet. After I found skateboarding, I skipped everything else because I knew, okay, this is it. I don't need a trainer. I don't need to depend on a team.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing is...
Because sometimes I'm lazy and then the team hates me. Otherwise, most of the time it was like, come on, dude, you need to play harder because I want to go
Right.
for it. And so on skating, you on your own, you can focus on your own. And I always liked that.
Absolutely.
And I like the
camaraderie.
camaraderie in skateboarding. Like, it's not as competitive.
Absolutely.
It is like back then you went to a contest not to win the contest or to place good. Even you went there to see the style of other people, to learn and to see. I want to do that, and it inspired us. To, we went pretty much in summertime. We went every weekend to the contests. Yeah. Not to be competitive, it's just to see the people, because skateboarding was small and there was no videos around, no YouTube or anything. If you want to skate, you need to go out. And
it's almost like the antithesis of competition, because the thing that used to get me most fired up skating was skating with people that were better than I was. And it does, it gets you charged up. You're like, wow, I gotta try to do that now, you know. But it wasn't a competition. It was just like this unspoken motivation to do better, because the guys you're skating with are so much better. And so you always want to skate with people that are better than you are.
Yeah, I liked it also to see skateboarding in the Olympic and how it was presented, that everybody said, oh, the camaraderie in skateboarding is different than in all the other sports. And I think all the other sports can learn something on that. It's not necessarily to be the best. Yeah. As you say in skateboarding, the best skater is the one who has the most fun.
That's right.
I really agree with that.
Yeah.
And I like it if you on a sport and there's skaters who are positive, who have a good vibe, and who like, they own it, and I love that. And you can find that in skateboarding a lot.
Absolutely. You know, here in the U.S., well, pretty much all over the world, guys would compete against each other back in the day. You know, you would compete against whoever, Sean Goff or whoever, and you might have a rivalry, you know, a Tony Hawk and a Christian Hosoi for whatever.
But they buddies now. And
they're Dwayne Peters is friends with Jim Gray. Jesus, you talk about polar opposites there.
It's a healthy competition, right? It's not like a traditional competitive nature. It is. I think it's skating with people who are as good or better than you, and then pushing you to do better. It's not an unhealthy competition. It's like almost like a positive motivational urge to compete or just to better yourself. We touched a bit on that on the last episode. I mean, I found skateboarding because of the autonomy and the independence and the desire to not want to be part of the team. You know, that's what keeps you skateboarding. It's your own. You know, it doesn't have to be part of the crew and part of the team, and you know, it's all just you, just internal.
Yeah, and I definitely skate better if there's good people around.
Exactly, yeah, for sure.
Like the twins, my buddies back home, they ride from Madrid also a little bit. They are 40 years old, they're twin brothers, and they so go for it. Yeah. They used to play in a death metal band, and then if they're at the ramp, it's always like, you know, like, and you skate just twice as good then. Right.
Music helps too, man. Yeah, it's got to be the right kind of music. It'll get you fired up. Yeah. Was there any shout outs you want to mention or thanks that you want to throw out on the episode, or just, you know, anything at all? Signing off, final thoughts?
I haven't thought about that.
It's all right, no pressure.
Your family. What do you got
no
going?
Pressure.
You got a
it
family,
can be anything at all.
I definitely have to shoot out to Jerry, because I mean, he kind of opened the whole thing for me, and getting that pro model early enough, even if I maybe not deserved it back then, opened me a lot of things, and it got me the chance to skate the demos, travel the world, get around. I owe a lot to skateboarding. I mean, my parents haven't been rich, and I'm out of a regular household, and skateboarding allowed me to open my eyes, to see the world, meet different people. So I'm definitely shoot out to skateboarding. That's my thanks goes to skateboarding.
That's perfect. You know, honestly, a number of times when we've posted retro boards and throwback stuff on our social media, we've gotten a lot of comments, bring back the pig graphic Bernt board. Cool. So I know we talked a bit about that. So we're going to, you know, for anybody out there listening and wanting, we're going to bring the pig board back, right?
All right.
We've gotten some requests, so we got to get that art locked down and find that in the archives, and hopefully bring back the pig board in our next.
Yeah, I actually had just contact to a collector from England who lives in Italy now, and he posted some photo of the pig board. And he we got in a conversation over Instagram, and he asked me about the artist and everything, and it was funny. Yeah.
It's a rare one.
I was amazed that people remember it. I thought nobody remembers that.
Oh man, skateboard collectors, you know, we're about as nerdy and as they come. So we get excited.
Yeah, I do collect a little bit too. I wish I would have saved more. But back then you didn't know. I mean, I had so many boards, like that John Lucero board I told you, my first board. It even was with an original autograph.
Oh really?
But I got it stolen at a contest. It's not there anymore. So that guy who stole it in Hamburg in Germany.
Where are you? If you're listening.
If you're listening, send it back.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm in my 40s now, and I'm still buying back my childhood of you know, all the boards I wish I never would have let go of or lost or just didn't keep up with. You know, it's sad. It's embarrassing. But yeah, you spend so much of your adulthood trying to get, you know, trying to buy back all the things you shouldn't have lost from your childhood.
Yeah.
Well, Bernt, it's been a pleasure, man. We thank you so
thanks.
much for taking the time to chat with us, and
It was fun.
glad you're here, and we look forward to that pig board reissue.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to skate as much as I can when I'm out here.
Yeah.
Skating all the parks and the places. Love being out here. If that COVID thing will be gone, I hopefully will be able to travel frequently to the US again and see all the people and the skaters out here.
How can we find you on social media?
Instagram, actually. I mean, I picked up Instagram 2 years ago, and post frequently. It's underneath my name.
Your shop and
So
your
it's
park
easy
on
to-
there as well, or is it all just
Shop
under
is
Bernt?
also on Instagram, but it's different. I'm my personal account on Instagram. It's no photos of the food or family or anything. It's just strictly skating to my ramp and all that stuff. As post there some nice old school photos also and new
Awesome.
stuff whenever I go on trips. So yeah, you're more than welcome. And it's easier for me getting in contact with people because I'm so bad in remembering names and faces.
Yeah.
And Instagram allows me to, okay, this guy, I can take a look at it. And
Everyone has a handle and a name, so you can find
makes
the
it a
name.
lot easier for me. So yeah,
Well, everybody
I'm
out
on
there,
Insta.
follow Bernt on Instagram,
Yeah,
obviously, and we'll look for that pig reissue on there. You can find us at the Madrid Boardcast. Of course, you can find Madrid Skateboards as well on Instagram, and you can find all these episodes on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, hopefully just about anywhere you want to stream these podcasts. But Bo, thanks so much again for being
thank
here
you.
with us, and
Always.
a final thanks to Bernt for spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
all right, keep skating.
Absolutely.